started the season with the women's 2 wins against SEC opponents. Talk a little bit about that.
We had a good trip out to Columbia, Missouri, swam Missouri and Arkansas for our women. The men actually just swam Missouri. So had a good opportunity to compete against Missouri, who both men and women were top 25 at the time, and kind of see where we were with our training and see how our athletes were responding to the work that we'd been giving them. And so we got out there, raced really hard. The guys came down to the last relay and came up just a little bit short. Their sprinters beat us in the last relay, and it was a tough way for our guys to finish that meet. We swam really well. I was proud of them, but we came up just a little short on that. On the women's side, it was an interesting story. There was, in the middle of the meet, somehow there was some sort of confusion with meet operations, and I'm scoring the meet out as we go, so the coaches know where we are and the athletes know where we are. But I start noticing that the scoring's not matching up with what I've got. And so as we get to the last relay, according to the official scoring, we can't win the meet. And I can't figure that out because I have us ahead going into the last relay. So we swam it out, won the last relay, and it still, according to them, looks like we lost to both Missouri and Arkansas. And then so I as frustrated as I was, I went back and actually Coach Bernardino and Kevin Swander and myself sat down and kind of went back over all the scoring. And Kevin and Mark actually went event by event, putting points together. And so we knew that wasn't the right score and went back to the meet operations people. And it turned out they had taken our divers, our female divers, and they had entered them under Arkansas's team. So when we dove, Arkansas got all the points. We got none against them, and then we got no points against Missouri. So that's where the confusion was. And so we had the opportunity on the plane ride back to tell our women that they'd actually won both meets instead of lost both meets. So all in all, great performances in our first meet. Then we had the opportunity to turn around the next week and swim Purdue, again, 2 top 25 teams, and Cincinnati in the same trip. It was a lot of tough travel in the first 2 weeks, but I did that on purpose. I wanted it to be difficult. I wanted it to be uncomfortable. Did a good job on that, went 1-1 on the weekend, and then came back here and got ready to swim UNC. Swam UNC this past Thursday, and had a great meet against them. The men won a huge meet for them, and the women took UNC, who was number 19 in the country, all the way down to the last relay, got out-touched in the last relay. But as far as where we are performance-wise, I've been really pleased with our response to our training. We're a team, we're a program that carries a very heavy workload. Most universities, most college teams don't put in the hour, well, I don't want to say the hours, the workload that we put in as far as the volume and things like that. So we're a little more broken down than most at this point in the season. So to be where we are and racing the way we are, I'm pretty happy with it.
Give me one name, men's side, women's side, among those freshmen, those newcomers that you've got that is surprising you a little bit with how they've responded to the training and the kind of times that they're putting up this early in the year.
Well, I think on the men's side, we've got a trio of men that we're looking to kind of pass the torch to as far as a lot of our NCAA guys that are going to be graduating this year. We have a young man, Tomas Novosath, who's done a great job for us. He's Hungarian. Actually came as a 200 and 500 freestyle, and we were looking to take him more towards the distance events. But as things start to progress in the way he's going with his training, he may end up pushing more towards the 100 and the 200, which is pretty fun to watch. Anytime you're dealing with freshmen, you're having to help them make a lot of adjustments. This is the first time being away from home for most of them, and if you're an international, it's an entirely different thing because not only are you on your own, but you're on your own in a different culture. And when you're looking at our program, those cultures vary. So it's not like all of our internationals are coming from one country. They're not all from Hungary. We have them from, Venezuela. We have them from Canada. We have them from Ecuador. They're all over the world. Egypt, Germany. So these freshmen come into entirely different cultures. So, your freshman moving here from Charleston, he's got adjustments or she's got adjustments to make. Your freshman moving from Germany or Kuwait or Egypt, that set of circumstances is entirely different. So I think our guys have done a good job, Tomas, and particularly in adjusting. It's rough on freshmen, especially within our program and what we asked them to do early on. Another young man who we've got two other freshman guys that have yet to race for us. One because of injuries, and we're working out some other issues with another one. But these two guys, Rafa Davia, who is he's going to be racing this weekend against Auburn, and he'll be back for the first meet. And then Brandon Almeida, who is a Brazilian Olympian from Rio, who's a freshman in our program, and we're excited to have him. They're going to do great things, and I think when you're looking at probably, I don't want to say newcomers on the freshman side of the women, but two young ladies that are really establishing themselves this year, I think Christina Lappin and Emily Cornell are both really starting to hit their strides with training. It took about a year to get used to it last year, and now they're really starting to perform well. So it's good to see that on the boards. Carly Price is a young lady who, as a freshman, has kind of established herself as somebody who can come in and take over for Julia Vincent when she graduates. So I think we're covering our bases pretty well, but we'll continue to see how the first semester unfolds.
You mentioned that younger crop of guys who's taken over for the seniors that have gone to NCAAs for you so many times and accomplished so much that this program had never even done before. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about those guys. You got Tom, you got Niels, you got Akram. On the women's side, you got Julia, and this is their final year. They have accomplished so much, but I know that there's still some goals on the checklist that they haven't knocked off yet. Does that group sense a little bit of urgency to squeeze as much out of this season as they possibly can? And I know you're still a long way from NCAAs. That's still several months off. But is there kind of a mindset to get as much as they can before their careers are over here?
I think right now their mindset is to make the most of every day. And at least that's what we're telling them, because, as far as their college career, now all those guys you talked about are going to continue to move forward, and they're going to continue to train for Tokyo. And so their swimming career won't end in March, but their college career will end in March. And so what we've been talking to them about is making the most out of every day, because this sort of dynamic they'll never get again. And it's just, that's one of the things that college athletics brings to the table, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, any of that team dynamic that you have. In most cases, once you graduate, that's it. Now you've got the NFL and you've got the NBA, but for the most part, most sports, they lose that team dynamic. So what we're telling these guys is to make the most out of every day with your teammates, and they're starting to really respond to that. They do. Those guys have a work ethic that's unlike really anything that I've ever seen before in terms of a total training group. When you talk about Akram Mahmoud, Finn Manuth, Tom Parabonio, Niels Wick-Glosson, those guys, they know how to be elite athletes. And they live like elite athletes. Everything they do revolves around being a great student at the University of South Carolina and being a great athlete at the University of South Carolina. So those guys, they do have a lot that they want to accomplish this year. They want to see this program vaulted into the top 10. And that they've been saying that for years, and we've steadily made that progression along the way. So that's a goal. That's never going to change, and we're going to keep doing our best to get to that point.
Awesome. So just looking forward, you have Auburn this weekend at home. Had a great meet against North Carolina at home. What are you looking forward to? What changes are you going to make? Just let me know your mindset.
Well, Auburn, both their men and women are coming off of a huge meet against Alabama. Their men beat Alabama. Their women lost. But when you go back and you look at the meet results, it was obvious to me, at least, that Alabama prepared a little differently than Auburn did. And so for Auburn's men to still win that meet was pretty incredible. Auburn's women, extremely fast. Both teams are top 20 teams, and I think in the last poll, maybe Auburn was top 10 on the men's side. So we have our work cut out for us. But essentially the mindset that we're taking is we're going to go and win as many events as we can win. Auburn's got some incredible talent on both sides. They're very, very sprint heavy. They've got a lot of speed. They have a young man, Zach Apple, who represented the United States at World Championships this summer in Hungary. They've got a young lady, Ashton Elsey, who is a really, really talented sprinter in the 50 and the 100. But just across the board, they've got a lot of talent in just about every event. And some of the events that we're strongest, it tends to be their weaker events, I guess, if they have any. So we're going to have to take advantage of points where we can get them. We're going to have to get points on the boards where we can get them. But I know that's, for the most part, that's never an issue for our divers. Our divers have always stepped up to the challenge. So we're gonna show up on Saturday, and we're gonna put our best foot forward. I think we've got a good lineup to put forward. I think we've got a good strategy for our team, and we're gonna go race and see what happens.
Perfect. I just have one more question. Talking about rankings and everything. Both the men and women are ranked going into this weekend. And the women jumped from 32 to 22.
Yeah.
So, especially with that difficult schedule you guys had right away, how does that feel, establishing yourself so early?
It's good, and it's been a while. It's good to see our ladies really establish themselves, because I feel for the past couple of years, one of the most difficult things about coaching a men's and a women's program is they're two very, very different dynamics. And I feel like for a couple of years, our women have kind of stood in the shadows of our men's success. And that's something we've worked hard to get them out of. And this year, they're really starting to come into their own. Jumping from 32 to 22 was great. I do believe they're probably a little bit even better than that. I think we'll show that over the next few weeks. I think they're a top 20 team, and I believe our men are top 13 in the country, and that'll shake out as the year goes on. But really, as far as dual meet rankings go, they're great, and they're good motivators. But the bottom line is we concern ourselves with the SEC championships, and we concern ourselves with the NCAA championships. That's where we want to be great. I think our team has become known for being able to turn around, going fast at SECs, and then being even faster at NCAAs. That's an extremely hard thing to do, given the type of training that swimmers do. It's extremely hard to turn around within a 3 to 4 week period and be faster than you were before, just because of the nature of the sport. But I think we're very good at that. And so we're going to continue with the mindset of we're going to race week in and week out against the teams that come in and visit our facility and the teams that we go visit. But the bottom line is we've got our sights set on Texas A&M and the SEC championships in February, and then NCAAs for the women this year in Columbus, Ohio, up at Ohio State, and the men's championships are in Minneapolis out at University of Minnesota. So that's where our primary goal is. That's where we're putting all of our emphasis. That's where our athletes know our focus is, and they know that sometimes we have to swim, at this point of the season, not feeling so good in order to be fast at that point of the season. And so I think your top programs, they see the value in being broken down now in order to be fast when it counts. So we're gonna go race, and I know Auburn's in the same place we are. They're working really hard, and so we're gonna go in and we're gonna duke it out and see who comes out on top.
Perfect. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.